Animals in the wild face a lot of challenges to ensure their survival. They have to hunt or forage for food, seek or build shelters, weather everything that nature throws their way, and actively tend to their packs or herds if they want to protect their progeny. It's a cutthroat life, and any interaction with another creature is usually a matter of life or death. Domesticated animals, on the other hand, don't need to rely on their instincts as much. They've got a warm bed to sleep in, an endless supply of food and friends, whether they're the furry or human kind. But every once in a while, our pets can't help but draw on their ancestors' wild tendencies, and it often leads them into some very tricky and hilarious situations. Just take this kitty, for instance. Some house cats are born hunters. Be it an insect inside of the home or a bird or squirrel just out of reach beyond the window panes, felines can't help their natural instinct to chase and hunt down prey. Of course, no house cat truly needs to do this. With a warm bed and a full food dish, they've got everything they need to survive, no instincts necessary. Tammy Simpson's cat, Ginger, seemed to accept this wholeheartedly. Not only had she never indicated any desire to hunt, but Tammy said that Ginger didn't even know how to do it. She hasn't figured out how to hunt, Tammy said, despite the fact that she's 7 years old. Thankfully, Ginger's lack of hunting ability has never really bothered her owner. Her kitty always made it clear she preferred lazing around to pouncing. According to Tammy, Ginger also suffered from serious anxiety. Whenever Tammy moved furniture or used the vacuum cleaner, or if a guest made a sudden movement, Ginger would fly into an absolute panic. She didn't exactly have the demeanor to stalk anything. And that was all fine by Tammy. She adopted Ginger for companionship, not for her mouse hunting skills, so she didn't mind that Ginger shirked her natural instincts in favor of domesticated life. I was very sick for a very long time. You know, people exhausted me, said Tammy. Ginger likes to cuddle, and so cats are good healing companions. So that was why it was so surprising to Tammy when Ginger began to develop an interest in something outside. Moose. The gigantic creatures would sometimes show up in Tammy's Alaskan backyard, and Ginger seemed fascinated by them. She even meowed to be let outside when a mother moose and her calf appeared. Now, moose don't typically go out of their way to target people or other animals, but they can be territorial, especially when provoked. If a moose spotted a dog or a cat and thought they were behaving like a predator, they can become quite aggressive and charge, causing injury or death. Tammy knew this, and she was hesitant to let Ginger outside for her own safety. But the cat was so insistent that Tammy eventually caved. She watched carefully as Ginger faced off against the moose and her calf. It was almost as if Ginger was stalking them. Thankfully, the mama moose didn't seem to mind. Their first encounter was so successful that Tammy felt comfortable letting Ginger wander near them. If I pointed out to her, if I'm like, hey, there's a moose, she's out on the deck ready to watch them, Tammy said. Tammy said that as soon as Ginger spotted the moose, all she wanted to do was go outside and investigate. Ginger became so comfortable around her new friends that she began to inch closer to them every time they stopped by. One day, Ginger became a bit too curious. She moved closer to the moose, who then stood up. The moment the ginormous mother moose began to approach the curious cat, Ginger seemed to have second thoughts. She quickly scampered back to the safety of the house. Still, Ginger didn't give up, and she kept perfecting her hunting skills. After that, she was even more curious about the moose family when 2 calves appeared alongside the mother. Tammy loved watching Ginger become more brave, but each visit also made her nervous. If the moose felt at all threatened, this kitty would be in huge trouble. Ginger might not have been the best hunter, but she certainly knew how to make an entrance. She'd start off by charging down the hill toward the moose. That might have seemed like an aggressive move, but the mother and her babies seemed more content to make friends than anything else. Tammy believed that the mother moose left Ginger alone because she could sense how excited Ginger was to interact with them, especially the babies. It seems like when there's babies in particular, she likes to head out there, said Tammy. While Ginger made huge strides in overcoming her anxiety, the moose and her babies also got an incredible opportunity to socialize with a creature outside their species. It certainly made for an unusual experience. That was because mother animals are usually very aggressive toward anyone or anything approaching their calves. Young moose are very vulnerable, confirmed Jesse Coltrane from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. The maternal instinct to protect their offspring is stronger at certain times of the year too. While that might be the case with most moose, it definitely was not the case here. This was one mama moose who was just fine with Ginger. "She's not bothering them," Tammy said. "Like, I've never seen the moose get really upset. Even once there were two calves, she just didn't care." To Tammy, none of that was unusual. While Ginger might not have been much of a hunter, she did have her own particular quirks. She likes to put paper in her water dish and just kind of move it around. She also loves hanging out in the sink, said Tammy. Ginger also had some funny ways of asking for attention too. "She won't meow or anything," said Tammy. "She'll get really close to your face and just stare. And eventually it wakes you up, like you can sense something's there. It's very terrifying. It makes me jump every time." For such a scaredy cat, she sure seemed assertive. Meanwhile, Ginger and the Moose family continued to enjoy a very special bond. While they made for an odd couple, there was no denying that they truly enjoyed being around each other's company, even if Ginger tried to hunt the moose at first. Have you ever heard of anything so sweet? Ginger might not be like most cats, but her unique way of behaving helped her meet some very special friends.
This story was really incredible, but you will like the next one more.
This Canadian lynx is twice the size of a cat. Now watch his reaction when a trainer goes to pet him. With their ferocious reputation, razor-sharp teeth, and formidable claws, it's sometimes hard to believe that bigger wild cats are related to the humble felines we call pets. Still, such larger cats have a distinctly bigger bite than the domestic variety. So when a Canadian lynx's owner attempts to stroke him like a pet, how do you think he will react? Canadian lynxes can be found throughout the whole of Canada and in some parts of the United States. While exclusive to North America, they are closely related to the Iberian and Eurasian lynx, both of which are found in Europe. Closer to home, though, the species also counts bobcats as cousins. On average, Canadian lynxes are 23 inches tall and 35 inches long. This makes them about twice the size of your average house cat. But because they tend to live solitary lives and make their homes away from human civilization, they are known as the gray ghost of the north. Indeed, they tend to reside in densely forested areas, where they scout out their dens in hidden nooks and crannies. And thanks to their large eyes and distinctive pointy ears, Canadian lynxes are perfectly suited to hunting at night. They mainly eat snow hares, although they will catch other forms of small mammals when hares are scarce. The cat's predators, meanwhile, are coyotes, cougars, and wolves, and humans also hunt the animals for their fur. There has never been an abundance of lynxes in the United States, but they were traditionally found in as many as 25 states. However, their numbers have dramatically declined due to loss and fragmentation of their habitat. Indeed, things got so bad for the cat that in 2000 the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service listed the species as threatened in the lower 48 states. But while it has gotten harder to catch a glimpse of the Canadian lynx in the wild, many are available to view at zoos. And that's where Max comes in. Yes, the infant lynx was born at a zoo in May 2011 before being released to wildlife educator Bernadette Hoffman. Hoffman began working with animals as a zookeeper at Hoosick Falls, New York, in 2002. When the zoo closed 6 years later, however, she took on a part-time job at a natural history museum. In her free time, too, she taught wildlife education courses. Therefore, little Max found himself in perfectly capable hands. In fact, Max appears to have settled in well in his new environment. So well, it seems, that after almost 5 years in Hoffman's care, the lynx has apparently forgotten that he is a medium-sized wild cat. Indeed, extraordinary footage posted by the animal educator shows just how much trust exists between the pair. The video, which was posted to YouTube, shows Max purring loudly as he is greeted by Hoffman. With the promise of a stroke, the lynx lifts himself toward his handler and gently bobs his head on her hand. Then, as Hoffman strokes him, the cat's purrs get louder and louder, just like any domesticated felines. After a while, the adorable animal sinks to the ground as he relaxes to his fullest. He even rests his head on his paws and closes his eyes, thoroughly enjoying the pleasurable massage. Just then, Hoffman begins scratching Max under his chin, which, as any cat owner will know, cats can't resist. Surrendering to his master's advancements, Max rolls on his back and wraps his paws lovingly around Hoffman's arm. All the while, the feline's purr resonates throughout the room. It appears from the video that Max has a lot more in common with the humble house cat than may have been previously thought. In a caption that accompanied the heartwarming video, Hoffman explained, "Max Lynx, the educational animal ambassador, takes a moment to get some good scratch in before he sits down for his meal. He was born at a zoo in May 2011. He's not completely domesticated but not wild either." Hoffman added, "He educates the public on the endangered Canada lynx in hope that people will be driven to conserve our environment and protect our wildlife. He is not declawed. During the winter he weighs 40 pounds and summer about 34. He has about 4 inches of fur in this video, which makes him look fat. I mean fluffy." Since the video was posted in January 2016, it has been viewed an impressive 700,000 times. It has also attracted thousands of comments. In fact, many of the observations marvel at the similarities between Max and domesticated felines. "It's just like a giant pussycat. So cute," commented one YouTube user. "My cat has the exact same body movement pattern when I pet him. A cat really is a cat, in all sizes," added another. "It's just a matter of scale in terms of how dangerous they can be. Otherwise their behavior in most species is pretty much the same as your common house cat," one more said. But, while he may look cute, Max is still a semi-wild animal. Therefore, his behavior isn't always predictable. When asked if the cat had ever hurt her or others, Hoffman responded, "Max has no contact with anyone except myself, so he has not injured anyone. I have gotten a black eye and a couple good scratches, but no bite marks, and none of the injuries were from aggression, just stupid accidents." Still, Max was just a baby when Hoffman acquired him, so he would have been easier than most to train. In fact, videos from his first months in his new home show the lynx being taught how to walk on a lead. More footage features Max at his first educational visit. And, although he appeared nervous at first, he soon eased into his new role. But when Max isn't out helping teach youngsters about bigger cats like him, he's at home with Hoffman, where he has an indoor and an outdoor enclosure. According to Hoffman, the lynx loves being out in the snow the most. "It makes him frisky and wild," she said. "He rolls in it, licks and sniffs it. Normally, I wouldn't allow the adrenaline rush, but sometimes you just have to give a little." But while he evidently loves being out in the open, Max will never be able to live out in the wild like other Canadian lynxes. As he was born in a zoo, the cat is probably too domesticated to live among others of his kind. He also has to take regular medication to fight an ailment. His pancreas doesn't function properly, and therefore he needs enzymes on his meat daily, Hoffman explained. So, although he probably won't contribute to the population of Canada lynxes with his own cubs, Max is still doing his part for the protection of his species. As an animal ambassador, Max is helping children better understand the need to secure a safe future for his species. Education of our next generation is the only hope for the survival of our endangered and threatened animals, Hoffman said.